Every day we face our own boulders, daily tasks that test our limits, challenges that seem impossible to overcome. But what if there's a way to shift our perspective, to find meaning even in life's most futile pursuits? Could an ancient Greek myth hold the key to transforming our struggles into triumphs? A myth about a man condemned to an eternity of rolling a boulder up a hill only to watch it roll back down again and again and again. A myth about Sisyphus, the man who dared to defy the gods and in doing so became the prisoner of their wrath. A myth that has puzzled thinkers and artists for centuries with its enigmatic portrayal of futility and perseverance. What is Sisyphus's timeless lesson? And how can his story illuminate our path toward a more fulfilling existence? Join me as we unpack the profound truths hidden within this age-old narrative and explore how they can empower us to embrace the absurdity of our everyday life. Before we dive in, please make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Sisyphus, king of Corinth, was a figure of legend, a man whose cunning and wit were matched only by his insatiable curiosity. But his insatiable curiosity would lead him into a world of trouble. A confrontation with the realm of the dead that would change his life forever. It all started with a little white lie. You see, Sisyphus had a secret he shared with no one, not even his wife. He knew the whereabouts of Persephone, the queen of the underworld, and he was prepared to spill the beans to anyone willing to pay the price. And when Hades, the god of the underworld, came calling, Sisyphus saw an opportunity to strike a bargain. Now Hades was a persistent suitor, a relentless pursuer of the maiden. And Sisyphus, ever the shrewd negotiator, knew just how to play him. He agreed to reveal Persephone's location, but only after a series of tests, a series that would push the god to his limits. As the story goes, Hades passed each test with flying colors, showcasing his strength, wisdom, and power. But Sisyphus never kept a secret half as valuable as the one he had just sold. For when Hades finally located Persephone, she slipped away from his grasp, returning to her mother's side. And with her departure, the balance of power in the underworld shifted, throwing the entire cosmos into chaos. Now, you might be wondering, what does any of this have to do with Sisyphus's eternal struggle? Well, as punishment for his deceit, Zeus, the king of the gods, condemned Sisyphus to an eternity of fruitless labor, a fitting end for a man who built his life on lies. Each day he was to roll a massive stone up a steep hill, only to watch it roll back down again and again and again. No matter how hard he pushed, pulled, or strained, the boulder always found its way back to the bottom, leaving Sisyphus trapped in a cycle of futility, forever doomed to repeat the same task over and over again. But there's more to the story, much more. See, the true tragedy of Sisyphus's situation wasn't just the endless toil or the crushing monotony. It was the fact that his punishment was a metaphor for life itself. In many ways, Sisyphus' search for Persephone mirrored our own journey through this world. Just like him, we strive to reach the top of the hill only to slide back down again, caught in the endless cycle of trying and failing, hoping and despairing. We chase our dreams and ambitions, but often find ourselves right back where we started, grappling with the same challenges and setbacks. And that's why Sisyphus matters. His story resonates with us because it reflects the absurdity of our existence. The tension between our desire for meaning and the universe's indifference to our struggles. In a world where everything eventually ends, all our efforts, dreams, and aspirations are ultimately futile, this realization can be overwhelming, even paralyzing. Faced with the prospect of a meaningless existence, many of us retreat into ourselves, seeking solace in the familiar or burying our heads in the sand, refusing to acknowledge the truth. But Sisyphus teaches us a different way, a way to confront absurdity head-on and find meaning in a meaningless world. You see, despite his fate, Sisyphus didn't give in to despair. He didn't curl up into a ball and give up. Instead, he kept pushing the boulder up the hill, day after day, year after year. He embraced his fate and made the most of it. In doing so, he discovered a kind of freedom, a freedom born out of acceptance and understanding. Now, this isn't to say that Sisyphus was happy with his situation. In fact, the ancient Greeks considered his punishment the worst of the worst, a fate worse than death itself. But he didn't let his circumstances define him. He didn't become bitter or resentful. Instead, he found a way to make peace with his fate, to turn his prison into a home. And that's the lesson he has for us. Life, like Sisyphus's punishment, may often feel like a never-ending cycle of toil and suffering. But that doesn't mean we have to surrender to it. We can choose to embrace the absurdity, to find meaning in the midst of meaninglessness. Sure, it won't be easy. There will be times when we want to throw in the towel, when the weight of our problems seems too much to bear. But that's when we need to remember Sisyphus, the absurd hero, the man who chose to keep pushing even when all hope seemed lost. And here's the beautiful thing. According to Albert Camus, author of the myth of Sisyphus, the only way to overcome the absurdity of life is to revolt against it. Revolt doesn't mean fighting against the gods or trying to change the universe. It means turning around and facing our fate head-on, accepting our condition and finding meaning in it. Camus wrote, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy, and yes, I know it sounds counterintuitive. How could anyone be happy pushing a boulder up a hill for eternity?" But that's precisely Camus' point. Happiness doesn't come from avoiding suffering or striving for some distant, elusive goal. It comes from accepting our fate and making the most of it, from finding meaning in the midst of meaninglessness. And here's the best part. Unlike Sisyphus, we don't have to endure our struggles alone. We have the power to create our own meaning, to find joy and satisfaction in the midst of adversity. We can choose to view our struggles as opportunities for growth, as chances to learn and evolve. Take, for example, those daily tasks that Sisyphus personifies, the ones that seem endless and repetitive and pointless. Some might see them as a curse, a burden to be endured, a source of endless frustration. But what if we approach them differently? What if we see them as a chance to practice patience, to cultivate inner peace, to find beauty in the mundane? For instance, washing dishes can become a form of meditation, a chance to focus on the present moment and appreciate the simple act of cleaning. Gardening can become a way to connect with nature, to nurture life and witness its growth firsthand. And cooking can turn into an opportunity to experiment, to create something nourishing, to express creativity through food. By reframing our perspective, we can transform our struggles into sources of meaning and purpose. You see, Sisyphus teaches us that happiness doesn't depend on external factors like wealth, fame, or success. It depends on our attitude, our ability to find meaning in whatever situation we find ourselves in. It's not about avoiding suffering or striving for perfection. It's about embracing the absurdity of life and finding joy in the journey, no matter how futile it may seem. In the end, Sisyphus' story isn't just a cautionary tale or a philosophical treatise. It's a call to action, a challenge to find meaning in the midst of meaninglessness, to embrace the absurdity of life and find joy in the journey. So the next time you find yourself stuck in a seemingly endless cycle of toil and suffering, remember Sisyphus, the absurd hero, and choose to find meaning in your struggles. However futile they may seem, you'll be surprised at what you can discover about yourself and the world around you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments below.